So this week we are looking at technology-mediated language teaching. You may also see computer-assisted or computer-aided language learning with the abbreviation CALL. So the activity this week is for you to research technology tools and review how they are applicable for ELs. There are lots of different technologies that have developed over the years. You can see this first picture of a 1800s classroom where the technology really was a chalkboard. And in some ways, things aren't that much different. We still have a board at the front of the room where we write stuff for students. But in some ways, things have changed quite a bit. We have smart boards now that students can interact with. We can now do video conferencing with other classrooms. And we now have one-to-one devices, even as early as kindergarten. When we think of technology-mediated instruction, one of the ways that we classify it is by time, asynchronous communication or synchronous communication. Asynchronous communication means technology that has communication that goes back and forth, but the speaker and the listener or the writer and reader are not in the same place at the same time. So asynchronous includes emails, podcasts, video games, threaded discussions like we do in our class, where we're not all on at the same time, but we're all doing the same activity together, wikis or blogs. Synchronous communication means things that are at the same time. So instant messaging, we go back and forth right away. More like a typical conversation face-to-face. Multiple user text chat. When I was doing my undergraduate thesis, I did it on the motivational benefits of chat for foreign language learners. And that was synchronous computer-mediated communication. A virtual classroom where you could have students in multiple settings that all are receiving instruction simultaneously. And we do have video games that are synchronous, where we have multiple players that play in different places at the same time. A lot of what we think about with technology use in ESL and EDFL classes is the listening and speaking components, although reading and writing can be done as well. So for receptive language, we have podcasts, audiobooks. You see a few sites here. For productive tasks, we have voice recorders. There's the program and app called Audacity. Students can create wikis. Students can use Google products. When I was teaching high school ESL, I had an asynchronous collaboration where students would work together on a cooperative learning project to put on a school Latin dance, for example. And the cooperative learning groups were in different classes. So first hour would do some of the work, and then second hour would come in later and see what first hour had done and add to those ideas. Other products are GarageBand and iMovie. So when we think of CALL, computer-assisted language learning, some of the strengths are that It can make learning more interesting. We can differentiate more. It's more individualized. It can be an efficient use of learning time, especially if we do a flipped classroom. We can give students more immediate feedback. We can better analyze errors so we can understand how to support instruction better. And it can equalize things. But there are some weaknesses too. Just because we put technology in students' hands doesn't mean that we as teachers know how to use that. There can be technical problems. Not everyone has access to internet, especially not in the home. It can be used just as babysitting so that the teacher doesn't have to actually teach. As I mentioned, may not have internet at home. And we may have students cognitively thinking, but are they acquiring language or just processing ideas? So when we think about CAL, computer-assisted language learning, we need to think about, does it enhance learning? Is it appropriate for students' age level, for their language level? You may hear in other classes of the SAMR model. And that, at its base, is asking, are we just substituting a worksheet with something on a computer screen, or have we re-envisioned and transformed learning to do different things because we have different tools? You might consider sites that would help parents' language development. I very frequently get parents to ask me, how can I improve my language so I can help my students? When you're evaluating websites or apps, how is culture integrated? Is everything like if there are imaginary student names, are they all Caucasian sounding names? Do the websites or apps have any form of assessment? Is there any way that you can see what work students have done? And again, something very important, even if we have one-to-one initiatives in schools and kids can take devices home, can they do anything with that device when they get home? Do they have internet?